Welcome to the Goffstown Capital Improvement Committee meeting. This is a seasonal schedule for the Capital Improvement Committee, which meets during the summer only. We are a subcommittee of the Goffstown Planning Board. As always stated, we are not a budget committee. We are a planning committee. We accept these requests from department heads and committees, and we put them into a 6-year matrix, 7-year matrix, what is it?
6 years.
6-year matrix to try to minimize tax impact for projects that have large tickets and would cause undue stress on the tax base for the taxpayers here in town. So we'll begin with our introductions with, let's start with Joanne.
Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Jim Craig, Select Board Representative.
Brad Parkhurst, member at large.
Tim Redmond, Planning Board.
Colleen Mayu, member at large.
Jack Carbonell, School Board Representative.
Danielle Busar, Assistant Town Administrator. Staff
Thank you,
liaison.
everyone. We are missing 2 of our regular members. They will probably be joining us at some point during the meeting. And we won't have them identify themselves, but hopefully they'll get here in a little bit. So, without further ado, I'm going to...
Tim, do you want to do the minutes first, approval of the minutes?
Oh, I didn't know we had that. I don't have an agenda, sorry.
We have the June 6th minutes to approve.
Thank you. So we have minutes from June 6th. Did anyone see them online or get a chance to read them? Brad Parkhurst did. Brad,
Question, it shows Jack as being present. I don't think you were
at the
here.
last meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to say that, but Brad was way faster.
Okay.
Sorry.
Spry young
Not-
man.
not
that-
picking on you, Jack.
Spry young man that he is.
So minutes would, there's a correction by Brad Parkhurst that Jack Carbonell listed as present was in fact not present.
Jim, this is for Jane.
Thank you. Jim will let Jack
So they're just discussing these minutes.
I apologize for being
Not a
late.
problem. We all identified ourselves. Just want to tell the folks who you are at home.
I'm Jim Redmond.
Thank you very much, Jim. Okay, so we have a motion, we don't have a motion yet, we had a correction of the minutes. Does anyone want to make a motion for the corrected minutes?
I'll move to approve
I'll
as corrected.
second.
Motion been made by Colleen, seconded by Brad to approve the minutes as amended. Are there any other amendments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Any other housekeeping items, Joanne, that I missed?
No, I think that's it.
Thank you for reminding me. So, tonight we're going to hear from the Goffstown School Board. They have normal projects like they present every year, and does staff have anything to present prior to asking them to come to the table? Nothing from staff? Thank you. How about you, Jack? Are you going to wait? Do you have any-
I'll wait, yeah.
Thank you, Jack. All right, come on up to the mics, guys, and please identify yourself for the record.
My name is Randy Loring. I am the Facilities Director of the Buildings and Grounds for Goffstown and New Boston.
Steve Bourget, Director of Technology for both districts as well.
Thank you. As I generally tell our presenters, we are very interested in your 25-26 projects, and we're happy to hear anything you want to tell us on the 25-26 projects. However, the years in the out years, if you'd like to mention them or give a very short description on them, we'd love to hear it, because everyone knows that projects in the out years sometimes get moved, sometimes get vaporized, sometimes they never happen at all. So I would encourage you to speak on out projects if you felt necessary to make a brief presentation on it. Thank you.
So right now, as we are looking at the Bartlett Elementary School, what we have currently going on right now, especially that school is out, but some of these projects that I'm going to talk about have started probably 2 weeks prior to school ending, just because we were able to move things in the facilities to get some of these projects underway now, because we just have so many things going on this summer. So right now, what we have going on is at the high school, the 4 dual-fired boilers that we have at the high school, they are being replaced with high-efficiency propane-fired boilers only. And I will say this is a good thing for us, just because the fact that stability with the propane has been really good. Second is...
Was this an item that was already in the
It was in prior to, yes.
And you've taken it out?
Because it's in, they put it into the bond that we're currently under contract with, and we're doing those projects this fiscal year.
Okay.
Lease, I'm sorry, the lease project, and these things that I'm talking about now
So we're
are
not gonna find
happening
them in
right
our
now.
matrix?
They're not gonna find them in here, because they've already been removed.
Okay.
Okay? So they have, prior to the ending of school, they removed 3 of the 4 boilers at the high school. We ran on 1 boiler for the last 2 weeks. It was more than enough to get us to the end, and more so for the kitchen than anything else. So now that school is over, they have started the decommissioning of the 4th boiler. And after the 4th week, they're going to be coming in the following week on the 8th and starting assembling the new boilers that are taking its place. So because they were able to get an early start on it, they're able to get an early start on the reassembly of the new boilers that are going in place. And at the same time that this was happening over at the Bartlett Elementary School, there was an old oil-fired, propane-fired boiler that was there that was decommissioned by the state, just because due to the age and the chimney issues that we were having with that boiler. They went over and decommissioned that one, took it apart and removed it from the building. And again, same thing, right after they're done at the high school, they will be at the Maple Ave School, reassembling the new boiler that's going in there. Again, high-efficiency propane boiler. What's nice about this, it has its own exhaust stack, which we will penetrate a hole in the roof. We'll bring in our roofer to seal it in, which will totally also make the old chimney that we don't have to use that anymore, and we'll decommission that at some point as well. So that takes care of 2 problems in one. And then over at the Bartlett Elementary School, as it's going this week, because school was out on Tuesday, as you know, and on Wednesday, they were there taking those boilers apart, and they've already got 1 of the 2 removed. So it's moving along very well with that. Over at the Mountain View Middle School, we had a failed roof system that was over the library. And again, right after school, the folks of the roofing company showed up, and they were sucking the ballast rock, the 3/4-inch rock, off of the roof. Approximately 80 yards of 3/4-inch stone. So they're in the process of vacuuming that off right now, and on Monday we'll start the removal of that roof system, and then shortly after installing the fully adhered roof system that will be taking its place. The difference between a ballasted roof system and a fully adhered roof system, when they put down insulation and a rubber membrane, they seal the seams with liquid tar, and they put a binder over the top of it, and then they put rocks on top of it, and that's what holds it down. And then in years, the rocks will move, and that membrane can lift and move and cause leaks in the building, which it has. The fully adhered, they actually put cleats down on the roof deck, and they set the insulation in it, and they adhere it with clips to the roof, and then they fully adhere. We're putting in a 90-millimeter membrane, which is a very thick membrane for that roofing system, so it's very durable, and then they adhere it to those clips that are there so that it can't move. So that is the difference between a fully adhered roof and then a ballasted roof. Adhered roof is much better quality roof than a ballasted roof, in my opinion, at least the years that I've been doing this. More predictability with a fully adhered roof. And then over at the Bartlett Elementary School, we're decommissioning all the pneumatic controls, which operate on air. We're taking them out and putting in a full electronic control system throughout the building, and the same at Maple Avenue, decommissioning the pneumatic controls so that we have better controls over the systems and the boilers, because we're not depending on the proper amount of air to get the components to work within the building. One air leak basically takes the whole system down, because it needs to maintain a certain amount of air pressure in the system for those controllers to work. So it's a great thing we're taking those out and putting in an updated system that we will be able to see and control going on the interweb. And so I've covered 2 of those, and you can see some of the other roof replacements in the district that they're slating to put on a bond in a later year. That's why there's no dollar value next to a given year here. So we're looking to group a lot of these together due to the cost that it takes to put these roof systems on, to put them together, to bond it, to make it more feasible, and to be mindful of, again, the tax impact, to get a payment that is predictable, so that we know what we're doing and how we can lay it out in going forward in a number of
Let's
years.
run through the list that we've got on here now.
Just kind of start at the top. So bathrooms, and just work our way through.
Well, again, I was just hitting what's not on this list, which is done. Now, and again, when you see that bathroom renovations, which again, they're slating to put on a bond at the Bartlett Elementary School, these bathrooms were put in the 50s, was the last time, and a number of them were put in the 50s. They have the old urinals and toilets. We're looking to renovate in those bathrooms to bring them up to the standards that they are today. Parking lots and driveways, you will see a lot of these are repeating themselves throughout this matrix. That's the same thing. We're looking to bond out the driveways across the district with the schools, putting them together as one package to make it a better cost to get this done, because a lot of our parking lots and roadways are failing and patching them. It's not an efficient use of money because we'll just be putting patch after patch after patch. So we're getting them to when, at the time that we're going to be hopefully bonding these all, putting them in a project in that municipal lease program that we're currently in right now. And Steve, I'll let you talk to the,
The technology.
yes.
So,
Quick question before
Sure.
we go to technology. Projects that have already been started on the boilers, these are already funded?
Already funded.
Thank you.
Already funded.
So before you move on, Steve, at the end of this whole discussion about this proposed bond, which is a proposed bond, it's not in this year's matrix for funding, correct?
That's
It's a
correct.
proposed bond in fiscal year 28-29.
Right, so
Right.
we're talking about a lot of things that are happening out in 28 and 29 that are happening this year.
Right.
So we're happy to hear them briefly, but I don't want to get bogged down in something that's a proposed bond, which you don't even have at this point.
But I will say, a lot of the projects that I spoke about prior to going over what is on the list that is for a
Well, that's-
proposed bond is what is happening right now.
Ingenuity, we love ingenuity, but once again,
Now,
I'd like to
when you
stick to the
say,
script.
when you say this year, do you mean this upcoming proposed budget or approved budget for the school district?
We're
which
talking
starts-
about what you're asking for in the 25 to 26
25?
columns.
Okay.
Because you don't even have a number on the proposed bond, do you? I'm looking on my matrix, I don't see a number anywhere for what the total amount is for the proposed bond.
It is, it's at the bottom of your
Which
your
one?
matrix. So,
What page?
so the last page that has your totals, it breaks down what it is with and without a bond, so the gross appropriation. Throughout the matrix, if you look at the combined matrix,
Yeah,
you're gonna notice that the bond numbers or the projects that are proposed to be bonded are in blue.
you saw that?
And it's combined together because in one of the district-wide ones, you're gonna see a construction of a new building.
I see that. So that's 70,000 by itself.
That's 70 million.
That's, yes,
Million.
the building is
Million,
70
excuse me,
million.
I know.
70,000
I
will
wish.
take it.
Buy two of them. So 70 million, that's just for the building.
Yeah.
But then you have all these bonded items to add to it. What is the big
Correct.
number for that?
90 million is the
Where
proposed
does that
number.
show up on our matrix?
It is combined. Yes, that's correct. So it is,
Is it
Page 404,
line 318, 319, excuse me?
117.
so in here, it's rolled into line 320.
Okay,
And you see the total projects after revenues. And if you look just above that, you're seeing the total amount. Yeah.
which is 90, above that is a 91,254.
So that combines everything.
And that's the amount that they're going to be looking to bond out in 26,
The,
28, 29.
28, 29.
28 to 9.
Okay, so that's so far out in the space zone right now that if you took things out, that's great. But if they're not proposed in 25, 26 columns, that's what we'd like to stay with.
I want to see.
This is going to be a very quick
I want to see
conversation.
a little further down the road, Tim, because we want to get a sense, two things. One, making sure that things are in the pipeline that should be, and two, if we need to move things around because we want to do some balancing. We got to have a little longer view, but we don't need a lot of detail on it. But I don't want to limit it to next year.
Jim,
My question, why is everything in 28, 29?
that's the year they're going to propose the bond.
one, a series of bonds, or is that?
One.
I don't know about that, and it's really not we're not a budget
Okay,
committee.
all right, okay.
But the only thing I would be worried about is pushing stuff out to the proposed bond in 28, 29 that should be funded sooner and get it done, because if the bond fails, now you're that many years behind on something you could have done 4 years earlier if it was in the matrix.
That's sort of my theme. At least
I know
see
your
what-
theme, that's
yeah.
why I said it out loud.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not going to dispute
You're
that.
not going to dispute
I
that.
know I'm not, no, sir, I'm not.
So if you'd like to continue on the blue numbers briefly, we'd be happy to hear some more from technology side.
No, it's for me, mine is a grayscale.
Okay.
Okay, mine's a
His is a
grayscale.
grayscale, and I have the copy that Scott sent, which has no blue numbers. So,
Okay.
Right, so,
Do I have blue numbers?
so for me, to be honest with you, what is in here that we're looking at proposing for the next fiscal year, we would be jumping all the way over to Mountain View Middle School,
so let me go through the Bartlett ones.
for me.
and then-
Go ahead.
All right, so going through the Bartlett, I know my items fall in 26, 27, my first batch of them. One thing to remember is the school district budget years are 6 months off from the town fiscal year, because the school budget starts July 1st and ends June 30th. So ours is a little skewed on how things land, because we're either 6 months ahead or 6 months behind all the other town departments, because of how their budget works. Our staff, our contracted school year, which is September
July to
to
June.
July to June.
Okay.
Okay, so running through them, you're going to see a bunch of recurring themes. Technology replacement. We have a series of laptop carts in the different buildings. The intent is to keep them alive for about 6 years. We bought a lot of stuff with monies during the pandemic because technology money was being thrown at us. Emergency Connectivity Fund gave us $400 for some devices. 100% federal funded. There were federal grants to purchase technology. Well, that technology begins to sunset in 2026. My Chromebooks that I have in some of the buildings stop getting security patched in 2026. A 2-year-old web browser is no good when you're trying to access the internet. So you're going to see in buildings like Bartlett starting to replace carts. I have 6 carts of computers in that building. Well, when you start having to replace things, it adds up over time. So you'll see the recurring themes of technology replacements there. So that's the laptop cart. You will see that in most buildings where the goal is to get a couple and just kind of work through the inventory with the plan of once we start replacing them, it's going to be an ongoing, never-ending process because we're basically doing a chunk of them every year. And by the time you do the last one, you're back around to the first.
And what is the lifespan of these laptops?
If you ask the manufacturer, they'll tell you 4 years, we drag them out to 6. I have some of them where we've dragged out to 8, and they get expensive when you start doing that to keep them alive.
In our handbook, the product has to have,
We were told that anything over 25,000 needed to go into the CIP plan, which is why the items are appearing here.
routine and annual recurring expenses, I won't read the beginning, it says at the end, even if their individual or combined cost or obligation and/or duration is at least 50,000 or 5 years.
The number's gone up.
It's in our handbook on page
It was
8.
increased at
So,
the end of last
So
year.
they're at
from
50,000.
25 to 50.
so if you're getting,
So it's an either or, what you just read, right?
that's what the handbook says, and it's in your
Okay,
book.
so
right?
50,000 is
So
an
it's
or.
50,000 for laptops, so that would fit the criteria, wouldn't it?
Now, I'm going to let this meeting progress, I'm not going to fight about it right
Okay.
now. But if you're getting 6 years out of the computers, then you're exceeding the 5-year lifespan.
Yeah.
Is all you really need to do.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do. I try to drag them out for 6 years.
Does
Okay.
it say 5 years or more, or just?
Or 5 years. Page 8 in the handbook.
It says 50,000 or 5 years, so by doing them a $50,000 wax, that should,
Most technology has a 5 to 7 year life expectancy. So we'll frame it that way.
We used to have a straight-up 5-year lifespan for anything in CIP. That's been changed since I,
That's still there on page 7, the bottom of page 7. The definition of capital improvement projects.
rarely recurring expenditures.
Yeah, so that one says at least 25,000 and at least 5 years. And then So that's just capital improvements in general, and then you have the routine and annually recurring, which is kind of a different threshold.
Well, computers that come back every 5 years are not rarely recurring.
No, they're gonna fall under the routine and annually, which is the 50
Okay,
or
well,
5.
it's
These have not hit the budget yet, which I think is why they're listed in the CIP matrix.
Okay, I'm fine. I
Um,
want to make sure we're following the
Yep.
rules.
Okay, the next one are the Promethean boards. So many years ago, before the pandemic, I'm trying to remember when exactly it was. I'm gonna guess it was 2018, 2017, something in that window. We purchased interactive presentation systems for the classrooms. They typically run for 5 to 7 years. They have reached end of life, end of support, and end of sale for the models that we have.
Can you, I use a fountain pen, can you tell me what that is, Promethean board?
It's a TV version of that projector and the pull-down screen.
They call them whiteboards.
So it's so we have in the classroom a 65-inch television that works as a touchscreen that they project their lesson onto. We went that route as opposed to mounting one of these in the ceiling, because when you mount them in the ceiling, you have to get an electrician in to do the work, and the electrician plus the projector is more expensive than one of these panels. So we went that route. The problem is they run a version of Android similar to most people's phones. You replace your phone every 2 to 3 years. Well, after 6 years, that Android software is so old that the apps don't work anymore, and they become a cybersecurity risk as well.
Okay.
And we've hit that threshold where getting parts is beginning to get interesting to maintain the ones we have because of their age.
And those are out in 27, 28, right?
Yes.
Okay.
26, 27.
In, at Bartlett.
And you're going to see that in
Oh,
every,
okay,
it's going to be
there's one.
recurring in every building.
Okay, they move out as you go down to the different schools, I see.
I got you. Yep, I see you.
Yeah,
I didn't see the Bartlett
I
one,
think
I
Scott has
apologize.
staggered them a little bit to try to diffuse it. Because
Okay.
I can replace one building and take the ones that still work and use them as parts to
Okay.
try to extend the life a little bit.
We appreciate your ingenuity.
And then
Okay.
again, you'll see the same theme at Maple Ave with the technology, laptop cart replacements. You can see the first batch of them, which are going to try to go into the upcoming budget there, and we're going to work our way through.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it for technology for Maple Ave. You'll see the same Promethean piece on Glen Lake
Yep.
in 27, 28. So we're going to go to Mountain View, fire panel, I'll hand that one to you.
You see, the fire panel, as I look at this number here, this number is grossly understated. That I did when Scott and I were talking, we were supposed to
What
change this
would you like
number.
to change it to?
This number should be $70,000.
This is 235?
That's correct.
Can you say those numbers again?
70,000 from 40.
Okay,
Okay, and same building, we're looking now, the 25-26 year is going to be the cistern tank at the Mountain View Middle School. The cistern tank is if you're going in and you go to the left of the building, quarter of the way up the hill across from the baseball field, there's a cement building that's there, it's a 60,000 gallon tank that's there. It has to be drained, the inside of the tank has to be cleaned. There's a vortex plate that's on the inside of that needs to be replaced. When we did the first phase of this 2 years ago, the coating that they put on the inside of it is a 3-year warranty, which means that at the end of 3 years, we have to go back in and drain it, sandblast the inside of the tank, and at that time, we'll put a new vortex plate on it. They didn't want to touch it because it was so brittle, and at the time we were doing it, they couldn't make one fast enough to replace it at that time. So we said, well, we'll push it out and do it in the next phase. And part of this phase as well, when they built this pump house in 1990, they kind of like cut a hole in the side of into the cistern tank and then placed the pump, and the pump was off askew to where the hole was, so they had to put a number of angles to connect it to the pump, which is not a design. You want to minimize the number of angles, that when you're drafting with a pump, every angle takes away volume and has the capability of having the pump cavitate or suck air. And you don't want that to happen when you're trying to pull that much water and pump it up to the building. So they're going to recore a hole, patch the hole that's in there, and then recore a new hole to straighten that that suction line out, and as well as putting in a new vortex plate that has a stand on it. The issue with the bigger issue that they have, when they built it in 1990, they suspended the vortex plate off of the pipe that goes through the building, and there's a seal that seals it from where the water is to where the pump is, and that we had an issue with that seal leaking, which is why 2 years ago we had to do that repair because the leak was continuing to get worse. So, and that is going to be between a $300,000 and a $500,000 project. And you see it's based out at $1 million, and at the same time that this is happening, we're having constant issues in this building with the dry system that is in the attic. The piping in this building was put in 1990, and the issues that we're having is the scaling that is on the inside of the pipe. When air moves or something flows in it, that the scaling will move on the inside of the pipe, creating a leak, which causes the system to fill with water, and it sprays in the attic and floods the building. We've had a number of these issues over the last 3 years. So we're looking to address that from the run from the sprinkler room, the rises that go through the hallways through the building up into the attic, is chasing that pipe down and replacing it.
You grouped them all into one,
We put it all into one project.
and you have $1 million for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's listed as a bond.
Excuse me, sir?
Warrant.
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 Yeah.
Listed as
So
a
thank you.
warrant.
Yeah.
And the,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, in that same year, the 25-26 year, we're looking at the drainage issue that we're having on the 5th grade wing. That's essentially where the playground is, the basketball in that area. The side of the building, the mountain comes right up to the building. A number of years ago, we put in a French drain on a section of that building because that's where the issue that we were having. Well, it has increased because of obviously we've had bigger rainfall where water is coming down and infiltrating the building because it's just that section of the property is holding the water. So we're looking to go back in and take the drainage ditch and push it all the way back to the beginning of the classrooms, tying in the roof drains to the building, and as well as if you look, you can see the erosion along that hillway where the railing is. The railing is actually tipped back because the pavement is starting to curl down because it's washing out from underneath. Putting in a head wall there to make sure that that erosion stops, and then resetting that railing. And that's what that number represents. And then it goes back to you,
Goes
Steve.
back to me. So the next couple ones, same themes, the computer labs, the laptop carts, those items, same thing, we want to get into a replacement cycle in those buildings. All of the current computer labs at Mountain View are donated equipment from the New Hampshire National Guard that we got before COVID. That's how we replaced them last time. They gave us 101 computers, and we replaced all the labs with the donated equipment. It was 5 years old when we got it donated, almost 5 years ago. Next couple of items on there, you see the Promethean boards listed. They're a couple years out. There's 63 of them at Mountain View, $200,000 price tag. You'll see secondary switches. So those of you who were on the committee a couple years ago would remember we had two sets of network pieces that went through it, the core switches and secondary switches. In Goffstown, I have about 120 network switches that handle our internet and Wi-Fi and telephone traffic. We replaced about 40 of them, which means I have well over 80 left that need to be replaced. I think when I did my last count, I have 23 on the telephone system, and I have 81 remaining on the regular network. Those have all reached end of life. Some of them are approaching 14 years old. They have a 5 to 7 year life expectancy. So they obviously need to be replaced. The number you see here is the local share of the cost. Network equipment that allows internet connectivity can be funded with the federal E-rate program, where they pay 50%. So the cost is for that building is actually $160,000, but the tax impact is only $80,000. The federal E-rate program, just for people who have never heard of it before, on your internet bill, there's that little line that says Universal Services Surcharge. That goes into a pot of money at the FCC, and schools and libraries can apply for it to offset internet connectivity and network equipment charges. we use that program every year to offset some of the costs.
So should this actually be shown as 160 with
But
an
the-
80,000
Well,
revenue?
no, it's not district revenue. So the way that it works, bear with me, is we send it out to bid, I award the contract, the vendor bills the federal government half, and they bill the district half.
Okay.
Okay, that's good.
There is an option for them to bill the district wholly, and then we fill out forms to reimburse it, but it's a lot of extra work with no gain.
Yeah.
So we go through the process of letting them just, the reseller bill the feds for their portion.
It was very necessary that you told us about the federal share of it, because that sheds more light on the project.
Yeah. So whenever you see anything that has the word, that's network, that I talked about network equipment, anything that deals with internet connectivity, I can use that fund to offset the cost.
Well, make sure you let us know which of these.
And I'll touch
lines
on
as you go
those.
through. Okay. So we're gonna go to high school now?
Yep,
56?
And that comes back to me.
yep, generator.
The generator. Currently, the high school does not have a generator at this location. The emergency shelter is Mountain View Middle School. That school does not power the whole building, it only powers a section of the building, but that is the emergency shelter as it is now. We're looking to put in, for a couple of reasons, why we want the generator at the high school. One is at the middle school, there's one way in, one way out. That's it. And if you recall, last winter, we had a tree fall over the entrance of the middle school, which created a nightmare for us to go in the middle of a snowstorm, no less, to clear the tree and then proceed to clear the roadways of the snow that was on it. At the high school, there's several ways into the building, whether you come from Park Ave or whether you come from over on Wallace Road. There's two entrances on the Wallace Road side, so there's multiple entrances to that building, which would make it a better emergency shelter, but more so that when we lose power, and we seem over the last few years to lose power frequently, when the high school goes down, so does our district. Because it houses all the equipment that for our emergency phones and all the notifications, the internet, and that includes New Boston as well. Everything routes through the high school. What we have been for years, trying to work with the state when they have their programs on a 25-75 or even a 50-50 split, but they have such stringent guidelines that we haven't qualified for it yet. But we keep trying, working with Captain Connor with the fire department to help us out with that, and also Sean helping us out with that and making sure, hey guys, I think this one might work. He does research on it and comes back and says, we don't make the criteria on it. So we're continuously looking to get this generator in. It's needed, and that's where we're at with that. It's the percentage split between what the generator is going to cost, what our portion will be versus what the state portion will be.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brad.
A question.
Yes.
So would the backup move from Mountain View to the high school now?
That's what that is our hope.
Okay.
Yes.
Because ironically, the emergency generator at Mountain View Middle School does not run the kitchen.
All the kitchen equipment only runs a portion of it.
Okay, makes sense.
So for this amount, this is the total amount for the project in the event that you do not get a grant. This is what the
This is
appropriation
what
would
it is.
be to
Correct.
pay for it in its entirety.
Correct. And I will share with you too, now keeping in mind, this number is now a year old, and every time this pushes out, this number goes up.
That's the number you're putting in.
That's the number I'm putting in.
Okay, that's what we need to know.
Okay,
That was the
that's the
question I
number.
was gonna
Do you want to change it?
Not at this time, because I called these people and asked for an update
You have
before I
until
put
the
this
end of
number
our
in.
process to change it.
This is the number.
Okay, well, it's always good to put the right number.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we're looking at also at the high school, the two stairways if you're at the front of the school on the lower parking lot, that lead from the lower parking lot up to the main building. We're talking the first two sets of stairways. We've already done the last one closest to the gym. That due to winter and the aging of the stairs, the winter months, the water gets into or is settling into those stairs and it's popping sections of the concrete off. And at the moment now, we are filling it with hydraulic to make them safe, but they're at the point where they're going to start to need to be replaced, and that's what this number represents, replacing those two stairwells in the front of the building.
and your funding is
It's CRF.
capital reserve.
I'm sorry, capital reserve, sir, yes.
Okay, so that capital reserve fund is money you already have in the bank.
Correct.
So you're not asking for tax appropriation for this project.
But it's, and again, the issue that we had when we've come to this board and others is before, the things that we were asking to do were never on a list. And we're always saying, well, you're asking for something that isn't there. Where are you getting this? So we've put everything on the list, everything on the sheet to be as transparent as we can.
Thank you.
And at the theater, there's four sets, well, there's four sets of double doors in the theater. And if you look at the theater doors, a lot of them are twisted and warped, just use because they're old. And that, this money represents replacing all of those doors as well. Again, out of the CRF.
And this is the media center, or is this Heber?
This is the theater.
Okay,
Heber Theater.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the wooden doors have, some of them are very twisted.
All right, I know the doors.
Yes, I'm sure. And then again, at CRF as well, currently what they call, in the info center in the library is replacing the furniture in the library. It's outdated, I guess it's past its life and the way that they design or they want to take use of that space. So this is a number working with the folks at the high school that they came up with to be able to put into this report.
Some of the furniture that's in the high school library was there when I started in the district 25 years ago. Actually, most of the furniture that's in the library was there 25 years ago.
And that's what that number represents. And back to you, Steve.
And back to me. So same themes as we saw before, laptop cart replacements, computer lab replacements, and switching in those buildings. Same thing, the switching is E-rate eligible, the laptops are not.
Okay. Going district-wide now, guys?
District-wide.
I just a quick question. What are the secondary switches now?
So, so these are the devices that every piece of equipment that connects to the internet has to plug into a switch. Think of it as like a power strip for internet. Best way to visualize it. They have a bunch of connectors where we plug things in. Most of those switches have 48 ports. I have 80 of them that the manufacturer discontinued the sale and support on them 2 years ago.
Oh,
So we replaced a portion of them 2 years ago using funds from, I believe it was from CRF and E-rate, that between the two, it was almost a $200,000 project, between what the feds paid and what we did, but it was a lot to go through and try to do in 1 year. So we did the most critical ones, and the rest of them, we just need to address them going forward.
okay, thank you.
New Hampshire minimum standards require that we keep our systems security patched in order to keep the buildings safe in terms of cybersecurity.
So
Thank
now
you
we're back.
on seal coating.
Yes, is putting in, and it would be coming from a budgeted item that we put into the budget in the 25-26 years, $42,000 for seal coating and lining the district to make sure that the parking lines and the edges are visible, making sure the handicap parking spaces are repainted, and along with the sealing of the cracks of the ones in across the district that, and I will say that we've also selected, there were some that of our roadways and our parking lots that I would not seal coat. They're just that bad that it would be a waste of money to seal coat some of these areas. And it would be doing a physical patch in them to fix anything that should happen, because when one piece comes out, it starts popping the rest of them, and seal coating it is not going to help. But it's definitely painting lines so that way it identifies where cars and people should go, doing the crosswalks, and again, the handicap parking, and again, just outlining the numerous numbers of parking spaces that we have throughout the district.
Question, is that related at all to parking lot replacement or upgrading the parking lot?
This would have to happen, if it happens, that's great. If we do get but this has to happen, it's every 3 years, and we're lining up now to do that now. It comes up every 3 years for us to do that, and we're hitting that now.
Thank you.
And then we're looking at the custodial cleaning equipment, $32,000, and that's just maintaining proper, efficient, up-to-date cleaning equipment to maintain our buildings. We're looking here we're going to start switching from machines that we're putting chemicals in to clean to machines that clean with water. So we're looking to minimize the amount of chemical that we're using in our buildings, which is why we also use microfiber cloths. It's a cleaner facility when you're using the microfiber material, and using the touch-free cleaning stuff to clean spaces with, and it's getting the equipment into the hands of our custodians to help them maintain our buildings.
Can we stop right there for a second?
Sure.
I'd like to go back up to the 2 Norman Road properties. You have an impact fee for one and a tax appropriation for the other. Then it says, talks about offsetting revenue line 289. I'm not seeing something here. Where is line 289 for offsetting revenue for them?
Probably one of them is impact fees.
Well, I look at line 289 and I see the computer lab replacement.
Yeah, nope, that note has to be updated. The revenues are lines 313 to 315, so the impact fee would be 315. And then offsetting revenue, the second one says warrant.
Number
See
one,
what they
not
have
an
there.
offsetting revenue.
No, that's what I'm trying to see what they have
Tax
here.
dollars.
I don't, s-
That just needs to be worked on for next
Yep.
year.
Yes.
So that's 26, 27.
That's,
Correct.
yeah,
Good catch.
looks like that one's,
what that is that's the, that's where they want to start doing, put out to make plans.
I understand what they want to do,
Okay.
but they're describing an offsetting revenue.
Yeah, right.
We
I
don't know
see.
what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
So we'll need some information
Correct.
on that for the next session in next year. Year from now.
Absolutely. And like I said, again, a lot of it is the offsetting with the, relating to the buildings that are going on in the building is to offset some of this, but of course it is clearly not outlined properly, but we'll make sure that gets
Good.
corrected.
So we left off with custodial equipment.
Yes, sir.
We moved down from there.
Yes.
So next one.
Secondary switches.
So that goes back to me, so same conversations we've already had a couple of times, the secondary switches for Glen Lake, Maple, and Bartlett. The cost is looking to be about $60,000. Again, that's the local share, because E-rate's gonna pay the other $60,000 for that project. The next one is server replacement, cloud storage. Some of the servers I have at Goffstown High School that are in service were purchased in 2010. They have a 5 to 7 year life expectancy. You can do the math, and you can see how far beyond end of life they are. They could run for another 5 years, or they could die tomorrow. Your guess is as good as mine. So they're going into the plans to put them in the budget to be replaced next year.
Okay.
And then the last big ticket item that I have is project number 94, which is phone system upgrade, which was funded out of CRF by the school board at their last meeting, so it's not going to,
So from,
so
we're
it's-
gonna
it
change,
can come off of your sheet.
well, we'll just change the number. Line 95 is phone system upgrade, and it shows budget. But you said that's CRF?
It came out of CRF at the last board meeting,
Good.
because
Thank
the work is starting next week.
you. Okay.
It-
So while technology is great, it's also
Expensive.
expensive and challenging.
Short lifespan.
And it has a short lifespan.
Short
unfortunately.
lifespan.
Most end
It's like
user,
me.
And a lot.
You just turned 80. What the hell are you talking about?
unfortunately, most vendors will tell you
If we can
that
get 80 years out of his computers like we got 80 years out of you,
We'd be all
I'll
set.
go for all of them.
Okay.
I wish the stuff would last that long. The vendors tell us 3 to 4, we stretch them to 6.
Vendors don't
Thank you for
know.
that.
Yeah. It's planned obsolescence.
Okay, so we
You know it.
finished the line 310. Where are we going from there?
We're
That's
done.
it?
That's it.
We're done.
Unless there are other items that there are questions on that are in the further out years, we focused on the,
And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of shocked, because this footprint is much different than years past. I appreciate it, for sure.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Brad.
We already covered the $90 million for the new school building in the out years, briefly. Briefly, is there any major Any out years other than that?
You got the kindergarten, 20.
I mean, they're still talking about full-day kindergarten, which is still stuff that they're talking about now. There has been no commitment to what it is or what it looks like.
I'd love to drag the plan out that they showed us at Flame Board where they're gonna make that into the elementary school.
The kindergarten?
The kindergarten, when they proposed the kindergarten, they showed us a Mylar overlay, which was gonna be an L-shaped building where they were gonna build more facilities and build more
Well, I guess
classrooms,
that is
and they were
before
gonna
my
make that
time.
into the third elementary school.
That is for sure before my time, because
And-
I've never heard that.
And ironically, to do a full-day kindergarten, they have to build all that core infrastructure regardless.
Right.
Mhm.
So then, because
That
we
we
have
know.
to feed the
Yeah.
kids, even now, we're applying for a waiver.
I don't see any
Not feed the
vehicles
kids.
on your matrix, and you know you have a rack of vehicles at the school. They don't even appear on the vehicle matrix. Danielle?
Yes.
We're gonna have to make a spot on the vehicle matrix for the school vehicles, or it'll have to be included in their matrix, unless they just buy vehicles out of their funds and we don't need to know about them.
And that's how it's been, out of the CRF. If we have, right now, our vehicle fleet is in pretty good shape right now, unless an unforeseen incident should happen where there
Well,
should be an accident.
are they
or-
required to show vehicles on the
This would be the
CIP
first.
matrix? So you're gonna have to get your
So-
accountants.
Under the CIP, it says the purchase or lease of any wheeled vehicles or motorized equipment having an anticipated life of at least 3 years and a value of 50,000 or more shall be completed in the written vehicle plan.
I'm saying the vehicles we've purchased, the pickup trucks we've had, we've all purchased for under $40,000.
Yeah. So,
Because we get them off a state program that they
But
have, and we get a
even-
really
But so
good
do
deal.
the town buys them from the state bid
We use
program.
the same municipal contractors.
I'm
as
just saying
this
that
town.
either one does or the other doesn't. We gotta figure out, I'm gonna leave that up to you.
yep, I'll check in with the
Personally,
business
I think that they
administrator.
should include their vehicles on the matrix just for the transparency,
Yep.
transparency angle. And anything over 50,000.
We
What if
haven't
your
spent
What if
50,000.
your Jacobson mower for the fields costs?
We don't have,
They don't have.
we don't
that's
have
Parks and
mowers.
Rec.
Parks and Rec.
Oh,
does
Parks
not-
and Rec.
Parks, that's
Yeah.
Parks and Rec, that's not
And
us.
that's
Lucky
same
you.
with the plow,
Yeah.
same with the plow,
I
right?
said
So you
yeah.
really only have the one truck, or you have two
We
trucks?
have 2 trucks.
Okay.
2 trucks, okay.
Well, we'll just get that included in
Yes,
next year's
absolutely.
discussion,
If you
just
could-
so it's
2
on the
trucks.
matrix.
And a sander.
Okay.
That way it'll show anyways, whether
Is a
it's
But
sander a
the-
separate piece
It
of
doesn't-
equipment?
It's a,
It goes in the back of a
Oh,
pickup.
goes in the truck, okay.
We don't have to act on anything, it's just that it's part of, it's part of our program.
is it on the flatbed or is it?
Yes.
So-
I said every vehicle's been under $50,000.
That's coming to an end
The
soon.
oldest one has a sander on it.
Where do you price out a pickup truck?
Well, we did in the middle of COVID, and we spent $32,000 on it.
Yeah.
But if you check it now, you'll find that you're gonna be.
You're probably spot on. I don't look because I don't want to get scared.
So, does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna start with the 25, 26 lines that were discussed this evening. And we kinda went through them as you presented them. We got great explanations from the both of you, and I'll make sure so Scott hears that. If there's none on the 25, 26, I dread to talk about projects out in the next 6 years, but if anybody has any specific questions about them, we'll be happy to hear them now before we move on.
I'm gonna, if I may,
Yeah.
I just want, you've got 2 expensive school projects, a full-day kindergarten and then the new school with a price. Is that a wild-ass guess?
I will say that is based on
volunteer,
school
I guess.
districts around us that have built similar type buildings and the cost in which they paid for their buildings.
It's
So
a
Jim,
guess in that.
I just wrote that in the memo, WAG.
Yeah, wag, it's a wag.
It's sort of.
So we're gonna use that as an acronym for WAG from now on, so we don't have to actually say that on TV.
Please, yeah, thank you.
It's
I realized after I said that I probably
It's sort of
should
a
have.
placeholder.
Yes.
Whereas the business administrator looks at it as, he would rather ask for more
Yeah, okay.
first and then ask for less later,
but,
then go
yeah.
the other way.
Yeah, okay.
So,
However,
but when it came out, it was the need was for an
It's a
elementary
real close
school.
number.
Okay, it's a reasonable
And
number.
so, yeah,
when they're placeholders and they're 8 years, 5 years out, we leave them as WAG.
so they're gonna
But
go,
when they get closer to discussion, then they have to be real.
well, that's what it is, that's why they wanna put for the, to
Yes.
get the planning started, so then in the next year, maybe ask for a bond, so that if it goes down, it could be in the following year. so it wouldn't run up against the next round of school contracts.
Gotcha.
And then that's sort of where the whole, you know, the big story on the tech place that we're in now is that every student in the district has a laptop or an iPad, and every teacher in the district also does. So
Zach,
that's
that's not accurate.
not quite right? Okay.
So employees do have a device issued to them. We do not have a one-to-one laptop program in Goffstown or New Boston. There is conversations about getting there eventually. Right now, we're using the laptop cart model. So I basically have a laptop cart of 25 to 30 laptops, depending on the school, Bartlett 20, Maple 30, that is shared between 2 to 3 staff members for their students. That's the current model that we're at. So a building like Goffstown High School has 16 carts of 25 laptops for a building with 1,100 kids. And those devices are moved around the building. They take a bit of beating by doing that. But that's currently the model that we work with in all of the buildings. Some buildings in here, a few years out, you'll see a purchase of additional carts. Mountain View, there are 10 for a building of 900 students, which is a little bit of a stretch because I have a higher ratio of technology to kids at the elementary school than I do the middle. But
Only you
Thank
would know that.
Yeah.
I'm technology challenged, but, so these laptops
mhm,
are used by different people, different students.
yes. So
I'm
think,
thinking cybersecurity and stuff.
so each kid logs into the computer with their username and password. So what happens is basically the teacher rolls the card into the room. They're provisioned out as student devices. Each kid takes one out, they log in, they open up Microsoft Word, or they log into Office 365 or Google Docs, or they do their work, they save it, they log out, they go back in the cart, they get rolled into the next room for the next class period, the process repeats.
So my,
Security funds.
It's all in- it's all in-
Well, yeah, but that was what, so that was where I was headed with that,
Oh.
even though I was incorrect on the numbers of the laptops.
But there
Thank
is
you for that.
security in these
So the
laptops.
security in that is what's becoming a big issue with them, and getting cybersecurity audits to go through and requested to update equipment that's out of date. Because
As the-
Obviously.
yeah. As the
districts
equipment
that
gets
have
older.
been ransomwared in the state, not us yet.
Is that strictly
has happened,
internal
yes.
computer links, or are they connected to the internet? from the
Those
outside?
devices are connected, so all of my student laptops are running either Windows 10 or Windows 11, which are both supported by Microsoft. They all have antivirus software. They're better protected than most people's home computers. Let me frame it that way.
I like that.
Because most people may have antivirus on their machine. In the building, I have 3 layers of antivirus before the machine gets to the internet. Because it's filtered on the computer, at the connection to the internet, and by our internet service provider as well to mitigate. So I have pieces in place. The problem is, as the devices get really old, it becomes harder to do that. Hence the replacement
Hence coming
plan
in the
that's being
matrix.
mapped out.
Trying to go around.
And I would share, 2 years ago, that we did get hacked, and they came in through our HVAC program.
2019.
So
a
this
little
has
more than
happened
2
to
years
us.
ago.
And because of the backups and the things that Steve did, we only lost minimal hours of information.
Is that a
So that's why the request
I
is
just
coming
realized is,
to go around, because as it runs out of date, it runs out of security updates, and then you're vulnerable.
trying to say, technology is great, but it's also scary.
Scary.
For sure.
And we have a lot of it being, between, I want to say Goffstown is almost 3,000 students
Yeah, in the school system.
in the school system, because it's about 3,400 between both districts. And New Boston's just around 500, so you can see the number of kids.
Right.
And so there's a lot of devices, a lot of users, a lot of technology costs to keep the stuff up to date and maintained.
Like I said, it's scary.
And one last point I'd like to bring out is, we talk about department priorities at the end of our process, but I think it's going to be fair to say to you at this time that all of your department priority 2 that you're proposing a bond are necessary within 3 years to maintain the basic level and quality of the community service. Those are probably all going to get changed to the 3s, which are desirable, which is 4 to 6 years. So that we are going to be looking at the priorities too.
Correct.
So
I appreciate
you'll
that.
know about that, and you'll probably have to pass that on.
And that's, and for us, what is nice is our priorities change as well, as we have systems in place where we bring in contractors. For example, we have a roofing contractor, North Point Roofing, that comes in and does an analysis on all of our roof systems every year. And those priorities changes based on, obviously, condition and year, and what has happened weather-wise, and those priorities change yearly.
And Jim was thinking it, and I said it, we're not going to tell the school board how to do their business, but pushing projects out to a proposed bond in 28, 29 that really do need to be done in next 3 years, which by your own department priority is necessary, that's a pretty big stretch for
It is,
that
but-
much money to be.
But I also know,
If that bond was just for the projects, I would say you might have a good chance of getting it. But when you throw in a $70 million school and a $7.5 million thought process for the Glen Lake the Glen Lake
Yes.
School, you've just pushed that number into the balloon, into the stratosphere. So just
we'll pass that
as a
information.
planning tool, that's what I'm thinking.
Yes, but I will say, and on the side of when we're looking at this, especially when you're talking the roofing systems and the dollar values that singularly that is associated with each of those projects individually, and trying to attack them individually, fiscally, you would never get to the end of them.
And
And
the
this was the
number-
plan that they were looking at, that we were looking at, to get those done and get him off of this matrix.
And the number in 28, 29 might be woefully low for what it's actually going to cost 6 years from now, 5 years from now.
Right.
Okay, that's enough for me. Anything else from anybody else? Danielle?
I had a question. So in the past, E-rate was shown as a revenue, but since they're billing direct, would it be better for us to remove that line from the revenue side of this matrix and instead just put a comment or a flag or something to identify which items are E-rate?
I think those items are noted in the notes that they're E-rate
Yeah.
eligible, but I think what Scott had done is, I don't know what Scott did.
Yeah, but the word is eligible. It doesn't mean guaranteed either.
Right, but it's not a revenue either. I feel like we're showing it halfway of each,
Well, then
because
if-
we're showing it at the E-rate, not showing the gross appropriation amount that would
That's a
be
good
needed.
point. The gross appropriation should appear with a footnote that the E-rate may
Would be
fund
50%.
50% of the
Yeah.
gross
Yeah.
appropriation.
And it is 50, right? Because in here it had 40.
So Goffstown got reclassified
Oh,
this
okay.
year from a 40% reimbursement to a
Okay,
50%
so that's
And we can
reimbursement.
scratch that and change that on our matrix.
But you're right, because right now, we're in the system that you treat it.
but, right, so if those projects, I'd want to verify with you or Scott or whoever to make sure that I'm not increasing numbers incorrectly, but if something is 80,000 and it should be really 160 with 80,000 in this E-rate line, that we know that potential's there for that.
Because once it gets passed through at that 80,000, that's all you get.
Correct.
And if you don't get the E-rate, then
Well, so-
you've unfunded it.
E-rate is a very interesting program because it's not 80,000 on the entire thing. It's 50% on each piece of equipment because they go through item by item and identify if it's eligible and whether they're going to fund it.
That's good.
So when I did my last switching project, it was 44 switches, and they were it was, are the power modules eligible? Are the fans eligible? They go through it line by line, and there were certain pieces where I had one piece of equipment, and 90% of it ended up being eligible, and 10% didn't, and we got 50% of the 90.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
suggest you should do gross,
Gross,
and then.
yeah, and reflect what you get back.
Okay.
Okay, anything else for the school department tonight from our committee?
No, it's
Does
good.
the school department, anything else they'd like to ask for in the final moments of the presentation?
And those, I will say I appreciate your approach to the format that we look at. It was nice, obviously, helps with not running a really late meeting, which I appreciate, to be honest.
Everybody likes to go home.
Yeah, well, we've been here a long time as it is,
Not really.
Well, Been
This
here
is a good
since
meeting.
5, I've been here since 5:30 this morning.
Good meeting.
Yeah. But this was, I say, this is one of the better meetings I've been in, and I'm just saying I really appreciate it, and thank you. You know,
We didn't get them all that
and I
fast
will,
Monday
we will
night.
bring back the messaging, you know, and with Jack as well, with the points that you brought out in the way that it's showing in this document. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much for coming
Thank
in.
you all.
Scott should thank you too, since he didn't come. You got the
Last 2 years in a row.
That was,
And this was his last year to attend.
Finished this
Huh?
year?
Yeah, he's moving to a new role
So he's finished as of June.
as the BA, yes.
Did they find
Next-
someone?
Of next year, of June, of next June.
June of
Yeah,
25.
June
Next year.
25.
Next
25,
June,
yeah.
next, yes.
Okay.
He's
Let's go one more year.
So if you want to have a surprise meeting, you might be able to get.
Brian used to come down and talk to us.
Yeah.
Brian Balky used to
Yeah.
come and see us.
He's still in.
Way back when. this
Yeah.
going-
It's gonna be, he calls him up in the quarter.
Okay,
We're good?
you guys can go home.
Thank
Get
you,
out of here.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Does anybody have anything else for this committee? What's on our next meeting, Joanne, if you don't mind, please?
Thank you. Have a good
DPW.
night. The next meeting is Public Works, and that's not until July 18th.
Okay, and then what's after them?
Library and sewer.
Good. We're halfway through, folks.
Yeah. And then, callbacks if necessary.
I tell you, the departments over the last time that I've been doing have really streamlined their processes and
Well,
made it a lot easier for us.
We worked on, in your absence, and how to do that, so it's a better process now.
Well, we started the process back then,
Yeah,
and they were very responsive to
yeah,
trying to keep things as tight as
yeah,
possible.
no, it's working.
Anybody have anything else, or I'll look for a motion to adjourn?
also moved.
Motion to adjourn has been made. Anybody seconded? Jim seconded it. Any discussion on going home? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Thank you, GTV, we're done.